Meir was his teacher, and so like Rabbi Meir kept talking to him. I mean, Rabbi Meir didn't pull his books off the shelf in Torah Talk and say, "This is Epicurus," because I have a different understanding of the tradition than you do. My understanding would be more in line with a book by a modern Orthodox rabbi, Mark B. Shapiro, "The Limits of Orthodox Theology." So, but I understand why, from a traditional understanding of the tradition, Milgram, Rabbi Jacob Milgram, Dennis Prager, and a lot of the people that I quote would be considered heretical.
Right. That's my feeling.
Right.
You know, at some points it becomes, it's like when you have these, the JPS,
right.
And you got your Milgram,
right.
Dr. Milgram or whatever, and then
right.
you're quoting Prager. I feel
right.
like it's Torah talks with Rabs and
right.
heretical talks with Levi.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, what's going on here? It's like it's becoming Hannity and Combs. It's
yeah.
like and.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good analogy.
Is that what you want to be doing? You want to be quoting from... I don't get it. Maybe you want to explain it, because I don't get it.
Well, I find profundity in their works, and it doesn't mean that I agree with them all the time, or much of the time, but I find it provocative and interesting and challenging. And I, generally speaking, don't have a point of view that I want to put across, whether it's on my website or in these discussions. It's like... occasionally, I will give vent to my opinions, but I'm not really like pushing this Torah talk to promote my views. I, generally speaking, feel happier just serving as a provocateur, like pouring the gasoline on you, and with any guest. Like that's what I want to bring out when my best skill is interviewing people, bringing out what people have inside of them. So if you're a Reform rabbi, I'd probably come from the right to try to, provoke what's inside of you to get that come out. So I don't run these Torah talks to promote, my understanding of Torah. I come from, my work tradition is journalism.
Okay.
So as a journalist, you're supposed to strive for objectivity.
Right.
And even if you go off that derrick and become subjective, at least you have a background in what does it look like to, try to strive for objectivity. So I, generally speaking, feel much more comfortable staying out of the machloket. And just like trying to incite you or to someone else to say what's truly in your heart and what you truly believe. But I don't like to take sides, generally speaking. And even on my blog, occasionally I'll do it, but it's maybe because I just want to provoke, or that's just what I need to write that day. I need to write something opinionated. But my blog doesn't really have much of a point of view. Like one day I'll interview someone who grew up Orthodox and left it and is now completely secular, eating treif and banging shiksas.
Or banging guys.
And banging shiksa guys.
No.
Shagitzes. And then the very next day, I'll interview someone who grew up secular and became Haredi, right-wing Orthodox, like Jacob Stein. So I did that either a week or 2 weeks ago. Within 48 hours or so, I interviewed a woman who went to Beis Yaakov schools.
Oh, I know her.
Tova Schreiber, and now has completely left Yiddishkeit and eats treif.
Right.
And a few days later, I interviewed Jacob Stein, who was a goy, grew up a goy, and he became not just Orthodox, but he studied in B'nai Baruch for a few years, and he would be on the right wing of Orthodoxy. And I found both of their journeys equally interesting, and in both interviews, I just wanted to pull out of them their story.
Right.
And whatever I had to say or do to try to pull out of them their story,
so you're like
I was going to do.
You're like the Leffelster.
Who's that?
A Leffelster. That's the you.
Yeah.
You're the mixing spoon. It's like you have some. You have a little something over
right,
here.
Right.
You have a little something over there, and you like to mix it up to get everybody like the fight.
Right. I will say or do almost anything to try to get the best production out of you, anyone I talk to. I kind of like a gentler form of Borat or Bruno.
Bruno, are you going to start waving your dick in the?
I'm not going to get that far. I'm gentler and more toned down, but I like them. Yeah. I really like Bruno. I really like Borat. I got a kick out of that.
Right.
And so if Like, I've interviewed, Holocaust deniers outside of the Oscars, and I had no desire to, I knew I couldn't change their mind. I was just like, I just want to know where they were coming from.
Oh, okay.
So from Holocaust denier to, like, gay reform rabbis, I just want to try to bring out what's
all right. Now I get it. Okay, so keep that in mind, folks, when you listen to him quote these heretic, all these apikorsum, these apikorsum, that he's not doing it for you to learn from. He's doing it for you to hold your ears to, like that. Plug your ears and wait for my response.
I'm just trying to get the most interesting show, and I don't even, much of it's not even thought through. It's felt through because since I've been 15, I've been interviewing people.
Oh, okay.
Like I interviewed Alan Cranston, I interviewed Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Steve Young, Tom Landry. Like I've been interviewing people professionally since 1985 and the 3 years before that in high school. So it's just an instinct. I get a feel, what do I need to do to bring out the best in the person I'm talking to.
Cool.
Is there a halacha against a woman leading Kabbalat Shabbat?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there is. What's the... Is that funny? I mean, like... We'll get into the women's. I'm going to do a whole thing on women's. I'm going to do a whole thing on women's.
Oh yeah, we've got a real topic. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like dawdling and telling you about my esteemed journalism career, but we really need to talk. What must a goy do to be saved, right?
Saved. We don't use that word.
And there's this great
Christianity's down the hall. This is Judaism.
Yeah. This is a great book. As you get prepared, I'll just give a spiel for it. God is not one. The 8 rival religions that run the world and why their differences matter. So the Christian idea of salvation, that humanity is born into sin and needs to be saved to another world, that's absent from every other major religion in the world. So what all religions have in common is that they all see there's something wrong with the world. They then offer a way for healing or improving, repairing this brokenness, and then they offer exemplars, like people who've done it best. So, for instance, in Judaism, what's wrong with the world is evil, and so the solution to evil is God's law, and we have examples of people who have lived righteous lives by following God's law, such as Moses, Rabbi Akiva, the Rambam, and Rabbi Raps.
Oh, yeah, put me in the... Now, I believe... Well, which one doesn't belong in this picture? Yeah.
But to use Goyish or Christian language, just to provoke you, what must the Goy do to be saved?
just answer that. There's no saved here. Here's what's going on. Folks, we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of what a lot of people tuned in today for, and that is that we're going to talk about non-Jews and their role in the world. The first thing we should understand is that we spoke about, a few weeks ago, I outlined that there's 2 types of people. There's Jews and non-Jews. Okay, and if we work matrilineally, if your mother is a Jew, then you're a Jew. If your mother is a non-Jew, then you're not. You're not a Jew. And that's really simple. Now, last week we spoke about conversions. We spoke about them for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And that a person could actually go from the definition of being a non-Jew to being a Jew. But there's something very important here to understand. A non-Jew is under no obligation whatsoever to make that transition. There's no requirement to do so. There's no mitzvah to do so. They get no brownie points for converting. There's no, I need to convert, I need to become a Jew. You don't have to. A non-Jew can get to heaven. Let's not say saved. Let's say get to heaven. A non-Jew can be what's called a righteous Gentile. A righteous Gentile. Everybody write those words down. Righteous Gentile. That's what we're talking about. A non-Jew can become a righteous Gentile, do what God wants them to do according to Judaism. They will be following Judaism, because this is according to Judaism, and no other religion says this, by following what's called the 7 mitzvahs